Hi everyone! Here are my top 10 fragrances for spring, and I'm going to go through this list with you from the bottom and up. Most of them are unisex, some of them lean a little more feminine, and I'll be sure to point that out as I go along. But I'm going to start now with the number 10 spot. This is a recent purchase of mine, and it comes from the house of Lab on Fire. The name of the fragrance is Hossegor. I got my nose on this a few months ago at my friend's house when I was kind of getting acquainted with incense. I might have spoken about this before on my channel, but I recently got it like in the end of February. So it's a kind of a mineral kind of perfume with salty sea notes, and it's also a little aromatic, it's a little woody, and I think the perfumer said that the key note in here is something called mastic, and it comes from like a Mediterranean tree. It's a resin that grows in like a rocky kind of saline environment, and that some of the inspiration comes kind of from, you know, like salty seawater kind of evaporating on the skin in the sun. It has ambergris, it has vetiver, it has juniper. And the reason I put it in the 10th spot, although I really like it, is that I'm not yet familiar with how it performs in the warmer weather, but I think it will actually level up a bit from now. The performance in the colder weather is not that great. I'll have to say that is a little bit of a disappointment, but I really, really love the smell, so I'm really still happy to have a bottle. And I'm sure it's still available in the US. It comes in this 60 ml bottle, and it's about 120 euro, 110, 120. And I was not familiar with this perfumer. Her name is Mackenzie Riley, and she has created not too many fragrances yet. Maybe she's up and coming, I don't know. She has made California Snow, which I find is a little more spoken about than this one, and also a great fragrance from Masque Milano called Lost Alice. So get your nose on that one too. Okay, number 9 spot is a really refreshing, woody, citrusy Neroli iris fragrance called Pegaso, and it's from the Italian house Etro. They kind of sell them as niche, but it is actually a designer of really expensive bags and clothing. You can find this online at a really good price point if you look around. They come in 100 ml bottles as well, and I think the bottles are very beautiful. I paid way too much for this in a boutique, but I'll tell you how it smells. It's just really refreshing with quite a prominent cedar wood note in the bottom and some iris. But it's not like an iris like Infusion iris, or like iris is just kind of one of many notes in here. It's a great out of the shower spring fragrance. It is an EDT concentration, so the longevity is not incredible, but it's I find it perfect like for just getting out of the shower. And I also use it for layering. If I put on something that's too sweet or too masculine or too heavy, then I'll just lift it up a little with this fragrance. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so the number 8 spot, New Look 1947. This is my favorite one from the Dior Exclusive line. It has been discontinued, but I find that they still have it in the drawers behind the counter. And I think this is something they do at Dior. They spread a rumor that something is discontinued, but if you ask for it, they'll bring it out. Like, you can still get a hold of Mitzah, you can still get a hold of Dioramour, you can still get a hold of Granville, and a lot of these fragrances that, you know, that people talk about that are discontinued, they are in fact available in the shops. This is my impression. I don't know. Maybe you see this differently. Maybe you know but this, I've heard talk about this being discontinued for quite some time. The name New Look 1947 refers to a new length of a little bit longer skirts that came into the fashion scene back then. But I find this smell very 2022. I cannot match the list of notes with the way it smells, because it has lots of florals and kind of like a benzoin vanilla base and pink pepper in the top. To me, that would give, but I find this slightly medicinal for some reason, and I'm not sure why. I find this really unique, but looking at the notes, you would think that this was just like any other fragrance. And it has tuberose, which I find is a really hard note. I can't smell any tuberose in this. It's just a beautiful fragrance, and I have a man friend. We share that this is both one of our favorite perfumes. And I bought this real big bottle, although the performance actually sucks. I think that the projection sucks. It's too weak. I wish it would perform better. And the reason that I have it though is that I love the fragrance, the way it smells. But the performance could be better. It would be higher on the list if the performance was better. This one has a pretty good performance. It's Lise 41 from Labo. It's a French house. It has my name on it, and they behind the counter they have it on tap and they fill the bottles like in the shop. It's kind of their thing. This is a tuberose fragrance that I actually like. It has a little bit of a sunscreeny vibe, a little bit of a young kind of floral, slightly vanillic vibe, little woodsy notes in the bottom, I think. Very, very beautiful and much better performance than some of their other ones like Neroli 36 and Fleur d'Orangea 27. This really does stay on my skin at least. Lise 41 Labo. Okay, next is number 6 spot. It's called Laurie Lay, and it comes from Envoyage Perfumes. It's a Californian house, and this is created by Shelley Waddington. It has her name on the label, and I love that they have these little bottles. They're 15 milliliters, and this retails for $60, but I'm not sure you can get a hold of it in Europe, but it's still there on their website, although it was created back in like 2012, I think. And this is just a gorgeous, natural smelling. I think she uses like all natural ingredients. It just smells Californian to me. Like something like the whiff you get off some kind of blooming trees. The closest thing that I've smelled, I think, is, I don't have it in my collection, but is Hummingbird from Zoologist. And there's also one from Guerlain that reminds me a little bit of this one. I wonder if it's L'heure de Nuit, I think, perhaps. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. If you can get your nose on this, I highly recommend that one. Next up is Orangea from Profumum Roma. This I had to kind of get used to because it opens up really sharp with petitgrain. It's like super, super green. Petitgrain is like those broken up branches from the orange tree. So that's really, really green. And it has mint, it has cedar needles and bergamot. And I'm sure it has more going on in here. When this settles down and kind of starts to warm up on skin, it changes character. And it's just so easy to like. It does remind me a little bit of Serge Lutens' Mandarin, although that one is a little bit more bitter. This one doesn't have that bitter quality to it. It is just so refreshing. And the performance for a fragrance with this type of note structure is unbelievable. Highly recommend. And it also comes in this little tiny size bottle. All their fragrances don't. Like only the most popular ones do, I think. Really, really beautiful. Kind of high price point, but I think it's so worth it. If you think about the performance, it's about 250, 270, somewhere there, dollars or euros for 100 ml. Next one on the list is Soavissima. I love this fragrance. This has great performance. It has iris, white florals, and amber, but it is not a typical amber. But it has kind of that largeness like an amber, but it's more about the iris, and it's powdery. People talk about this on Fragrantica as being too soapy and too much of baby powder. Some are disappointed in it, but I absolutely love it. I find it big and loud. Like 2-3 sprays, and it's like on your skin for 10 hours. And it really is great in the spring. It's really, really beautiful, but it does not remind me at all of like the classical irises, like Iris de Syracuse and Infusion Iris. This is more of, it has more sweetness to it, I think. It's a bigger fragrance. Highly, highly recommend as well. That comes in a 18 ml or 100 ml bottle. It's one of my favorite houses. Next up on the number 3 spot is Artemisia from Penhaligon's. I never thought this would reach a top 3 on any list of mine. When I first got this, I had like it came in one of these little vials, like a decant, like 8 milliliter kind of vial. And I thought that it was kind of boring at first. I'll have to say. And I thought, when will I wear it? But I'll just wear this, like for every day or the office or something like that. But then I kind of caught myself reaching for it more and more. So it's such an easy reach. I really don't like the word dumb reach, so I'm not going to use that word, but an easy reach. It works anytime, any occasion. It has a beautiful kind of green top. And Artemisia is some kind of an herb that has a little bit of a bitter quality to it. And this is slightly fruity. It has nectarine and green apple. I didn't even know it had green apple until when my friend smelled it, and she went wild for it. She said it reminded her of some kind of shampoo she had when she was young. So she had this nostalgic kind of experience with it. For me, this is all about like beautifully blended florals. It has a violet note, I think, but it goes a little irisy, but then it has this really luxurious buttery quality kind of underneath all those florals and that green top. And there's something that just smells so expensive about this fragrance. And I think that it's such a great price point, except for the fact that it only comes in this big 100 ml bottle. This is a lot cheaper than the Portrait collection from Penhaligon's. Changing Constance and Clandestine Clara and the Duke, whatever, all those fragrances are a lot pricier than this one. And I think it's just incredibly beautiful. And I think that the fact that it was created in 2002 and it's still on the shelves, that gives you a little idea about the quality and the likableness of the fragrance. I think this could almost be called a people pleaser because it's so easy to like. At the same time, I don't find that it resembles anything else that I have. So it is quite unique. It's just not one of those super loud, like beast mode type of fragrances. But when I run out of this, I'm going to be sure to get another bottle. And I think it really makes sense to invest in this type of perfumes that you wear like a lot, rather than going full bottle of like Oud Satin Mood. I mean, I don't regret buying Oud Satin Mood, but I think twice before I purchase bottles with that kind of beast mode performance and that are so heavy that you only wear them once every 3 months. I mean, I wear this at least monthly. No, in the summertime even more. Though this is a really, really good choice for spring and summer. Okay, my second spot on the top 10 list is from one of my favorite perfume houses, the Italian luxury perfume house Xerjoff. That's spelled Xerjoff. And this is my favorite fragrance from their hundreds of fragrances. I think they have at least 100 in all their different collections. And this one comes from the Shooting Stars collection. So it's pretty pricey. I think it's about $250 or euros for a 50 ml bottle. And I could describe this as an amber for spring and summer because it has kind of a little bit of a resin in the base. And I think maybe some woodsy notes, and a little vanilla. But it also has kind of a green herbalness to it also. It has a note of galbanum, which is one of my favorite notes. So it creates a little bit of bitterness in the fragrance. And I love that about a fragrance, like it makes it not go too sweet. And I just find this so wearable. And it does, I know that other people can smell this on me because people give me compliments for it. I just wish I could smell it a little bit more myself. When it was new, when I first bought it, I couldn't hardly smell it all on myself. But now I can find myself actually getting more and more whiffs of it. So maybe it's something that your nose needs to get used to. I'm not quite sure. But I really, really love this fragrance. And I will definitely buy another bottle when I run out. Okay, so number 1, my favorite spring fragrance, and for summer, is Granada from the French house Memo. And this is a beautiful white floral fragrance with vanilla and a little bit of a woodsy base. And it then has this little twist of grenadine, that kind of reddish syrupy stuff that you mix drinks with, and to give them a special flavor, which is made from pomegranates. And I think, pomegranate doesn't really have a strong smell, but when you make it that concentrated, then it does have a special smell. It has a little tiny, tiny bitter quality to it, I think. But boy, is this good. This is a flirtatious, beautiful fragrance that would work daytime or nighttime, date night. I wear it when I go dancing sometimes because I do find it kind of a people pleaser. Like everybody likes this. It's just perfect. I mean, sometimes I get really bored with fragrances that are too perfect. That has actually been the case with Honoré Delights from Ex Nihilo, or like Grand Soir I found was just too perfect and I found it real boring, which I think is kind of weird. Like, how can a fragrance be too perfect? But this one, I think it's the grenadine. I think it is the grenadine that actually makes it still interesting. And then I really love Orange Blossom. Like Orange Blossom, I really don't get tired of Orange Blossom. It's always just so beautiful. It's kind of fresh too, this fragrance. It's not just seductive and floral. It's like a fresh type of spring scent. So this would be my top choice. It is expensive, but if you're lucky, you can find it a little bit cheaper online. You can get a deal. So don't just rush out and buy it. Look around a little bit, sample it first, and then get it. Okay, those were my top 10 choices for spring and summer.